First, just so we can all get to know you, would you guys mind sharing your name, where you're from, how long you've been married, and what you do with your company? The microphones are on the table, so feel free, you guys can.
Okay, my name is Tuel Medin. I was born in Jamaica, pretty much grew up in New Jersey, I would say, and been married for 7 years.
Hi everyone, blessings. My name is Walid Burhan. Been married for 7 years. I was born in Jamaica as well, and yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Ferdinand. My Christian Nasem, baptismal name Walete Jesus. Married for 17 years, almost 17 years this August. Let's good.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this program. My name is Cassis Yotros. Technically, we've been married for 17 years, but I counted since we met, so I said 20 years.
My name is Diaco Minilik. Of Jamaican origin, but born in New York. Married almost 16 years. This September will be 16 years married.
Hi, I'm Nazareth Iwa. I'm American. And yes, we've been married almost 16 years.
All right, so I guess this marks the official beginning of the panel. And for those of you in the audience that want to ask questions in the middle, feel free to raise your hands, but we'll also have a dedicated time in the end for everybody to just raise their hands and ask questions about anything the panelists have said or anything you're curious about in general. Okay, so the first question I have over here is related to discernment and courtship. So the first question, and feel free to just pick up the mic and answer. When did you realize this was the person that you wanted to marry?
You know, I've been here for 3 consecutive weeks. Today I'll be the audience.
The thing is, for those of you that attended the past 3 series we had, I think it was leading us through it. And in spirit, we've met Faye because we hear all of her wisdom through Essie, and he's been giving us so much advice. And so now we have you here as the living experience. So we must hear from both of you. So please.
To put some pressure off of Keza. Okay, so the question is, when did you realize this was the person you wanted to marry? Good question. So, of course, most relationships start with a friendship, right? But for me, it was more of spiritual reawakening. You know, from the time we met each other in college. I had a dream about her before I married her, too. It was weird. I told her about that. And in the dream, I saw like crowns being placed on the head. But anyways, for me, it was me having a spiritual reawakening to decide, okay, life is short, and I need to, think about my life for the future. So it was more about, am I ready to be married? And so something spiritual happened where I was like, okay, hold on. God is real, and marriage is important for me. That's where I wanted to go. So just getting closer to God and make the decision. And the way it happened was I called her on the phone, right? I didn't like do the typical Hollywood, like on the knee proposal like that. I called her up, I said, we're gonna get married. She said, okay. She didn't believe me. She didn't believe me.
I'm not alone here.
She didn't believe me, but I was very serious. She said, okay, right? But just like, okay, whatever you're saying, like you speak, and then one day we were walking, and I put a deposit in the engagement ring, and then she realized it was happening. But yeah, for me, it was more of a spiritual reawakening to understand what's important in life. I have other details, but
I could share mine as well. First, I just want to say glory to God for allowing us to be here today, right? And may He grant us with His grace to really share our view and experience, because holy matrimony is a sacrament, right? And it's very serious, right? And I want each and every one of us in here to know that marriage is not a ha-ha moment, right? It's not a la la land, you just do this. And we kind of see that in our culture today, right? With someone just feel they could marry someone and tomorrow you could go marry someone else, which in our church, they said marriage and separation is the great bigger, right? Right? So meaning you have to die, right? For you to really absolve your marriage, and even after you die, you're still in unity with that person, right? So for me, when I, realized I wanted to marry Willette, overall, I would say in my life, I was Orthodox Christian before her, right? And when I met her, I asked her about how important, is God to her, right? How important it is, how does she do baptism, right? And she was very open, right, to even learn the Orthodox faith, which was not easy, right? Especially with the language barrier, right? Although I don't speak Amharic, I don't know, I was fully merged in the church regardless, right? And for her, it was a challenge at first, even when I first brought her to the church. Believe it or not, if some of you guys don't know, Menelik and I are pretty much like brothers, right? And his mom, I call her my mother as well, right? And, when I started to have courtship with Willette, one of the first things was to allow her to meet, our mother, right? And, she already approved based on just her simplicity and how humble she was, right? And, after bringing her to the church, she said her best moments were during the sermon when Menelik would come up and speak, because that was the only time she would get some English, right? Which and I see the church evolving with more English being interpreted, right? And I think that's very beneficial for all of us here, especially the younger generation, right? And after she decided, yes, she's willing to get baptized, and everything was pretty soon, and I'm talking about within like 6 months time frame. And for us, we know the temptation of the flesh. We didn't want to wait any moment, right? So she decided, yes, she's going to get baptized. Then I proposed to her, right? Then she get baptized. So she get baptized actually January 7th, and we got married January 26th. So it was confirmed then after accepting the faith that I know this is the person that I want to marry.
Well, finally, it's us. I thought you already said why and how.
We still.
I was here.
Yeah, I haven't said told him even. As the community said, this is a progress, right? Like you grew into friendship, and then that friendship grew one higher level, and then that. So we both went to the same high school, but we didn't know each other. Then we went to the same undergraduate college, which is Bahada University in Ethiopia, Bahada. So since we came from the same high school, his batch, which is like the older, they always like have a trend to welcome students who came from their high school. So like Addis Katama students welcome Addis Katama students. We went to Medina school, so they say, oh, there are a lot of Medina high school students came to Bahada University, so let's welcome them. That's the first time we went, which is 25 years ago, if I counted. So we met. He was just the funny and maybe sometimes laughing. He's like, I don't know, he was So many of you,
You're like,
Before I was a deacon.
but he's liked by many. He's very outgoing, friend with many people. So our relationship is that just like, and then we started serving campus ministry at Kupikuwai, as many of you might know, about the University of Kupikuwai. So we served together. He graduated before me. He went to Magali University for work. I stayed there. I graduated a year later. I got my first job there at the University of Bahadar. Then there's a trend in Ethiopia. You graduate, you find a job, and then a year or two later you go to master's, to graduate degree to master's. He came from Bahadar, and from Magali to Bahadar, taking, like a field trip to his students. Because if you know, in Bahadar there is a hydroelectric power conversion. He's an electrical power engineer. So he brought all his students, and then we ended up meeting in a big Kubai. There was a very big Kubai. Teachers came from Ethiopia, Dagon, Kasis Dejani, and all of them. Then we met them. What are you doing here? There was no cell phones that time. So we met there. He said, oh yeah, I live here. Let's go together. So he came to my house. We all, not only him.
Not like it. Correction.
He took me
take them like this.
Yeah, still, so I'm a storyteller. Sometimes I extend stories. Sorry, I make it shorter. So he always says, you took me. And I say, no, I just invited you. You are, you came from Magali. I met you after a year. So let's have the, lunch. Not only him, but our other friends too. Because I was just having, I just got hired in the university, got my whole small, one bedroom apartment. So they came, we ate, and then he left. There's no phone again. So we don't know. I know he went to Magali, he knows I live by that. So the year later, in November, this happens in maybe January. So the year in November we met. You know where again we met? Again, we always meet in Kuwait. So there's a trend again there after the monthly Kuwait students from different colleges meet. Oh, how are you? So there's a big circle from Bahadar students, a big circle for the Southern University students, and another circle for Juma, all the Bahadar University students are. And then they can say, what are you doing here? I thought you were in Magalina. I thought you were in Bahadar. No. Okay. So then we talk, there's a trend again, we walk all the way to Piazza again. Many of us, at the end the two of us stayed. Okay? So we are walking and then took the same taxi and they say, oh, your neighborhood is here, so you have to get off the taxi. I said, no, I moved to your neighborhood. What? Okay, so let's go. So another taxi together. That starts there. So all the way up to here, we were just brothers, sisters, who nag each other, who, need and whatever. Then, after that, I said, okay, so I'm doing my master's in Addis Ababa University. That's where I came from. Say, oh, me too. I came here for master's. Okay, then we knew we live in the same neighborhood, very, very close by. Okay, so he calls me. Then we have the small, that mobile phone. So yeah, we start coming. Sometimes we meet for lunch. Oh, where are you? I'm in the library. Let's sit. So he say the same. I say, and then if we study together, we study. When we go home, okay, let's go home. Why are you leaving now? Maybe I'm staying a little longer. And they say, okay, I'll stay longer too. So in our way to back and forth to home and during lunch, we talked, just random talk. There was no intention of being engaged, Then as far as I'm concerned. But he was informing me.
I was doing my interviews.
I was just, which is good, right? I don't think to impress him whenever we talk. I have nothing further thinking about, maybe he was the right person. But there are many moments that will take you when you want to meet him again tomorrow, that's a sign, right? That you can't wait to go with him tomorrow and maybe call him and then, are we going together today? Are you staying late or Are you still out in the library? Let's meet. It's not like, this guy, and then that's not the feeling. So, okay, so that's a sign. But I think many women would share it, or it's just me. The feeling of being protected makes a very big difference for guys. Like, maybe we were walking, I never told him, I told Ivy and two friends. We were walking and there was a car,
It's being recorded, right?
very heavy truck. And maybe he'd say, no, you go this way. That's like very little thing, right? That was big for me. Things like he was protecting me. Okay, these are signs, in short. But again, we went to a monastery for an annual holy celebration of our government festivals. It goes on that level then. I don't think as women, as a man and women, we don't have to stay very connected, like very much intimate. So I think we have to put some distance between us. That was my idea. But then I think he already decided, so maybe not. So let's continue. So that is the day I said, okay. There were moments, in each moment, especially the part that I told you, the feeling of being protected, having someone to protect you, to shield you, to choose me before him, right? That's something, but in short, I'm the longest talker, I'm sorry. Every last story was short. So, yeah, there were many steps, but these are the major. So that's when our relationship went to another level, knowing. I'm sorry. How do you
It's great. Thank you so much. We love hearing the story, so don't be sorry. I felt like I was there. Yeah. So the next question is when you're thinking about a spouse, what were qualities that mattered more than you expected or mattered less than you expected?
So, a quality in Tuwalde that I saw that mattered a lot more than I expected was his zeal, his faith. He was really strong in his faith. And when I saw that, I knew that whenever, and if we do come together as one, whenever we do get married, that his faith would come first and God would come first. So if we do have, any issues during marriage, he would run to God first and not go outside to anyone else, but to God first and foremost. And that was a quality that I saw that definitely mattered more. So yeah.
I guess for me it was the same thing. His level of faith, and also how he was with his family. After you got to see how he interacted with everybody, that played a big part for me too.
Why are we ladies going first?
Okay. So for me, her selflessness, right? Like that, her willingness to put others before herself, which still manifests today. So that was important, So I saw that quality, that was important.
Yeah, maybe I said it before to him too, and to the viewers that I met in person. I say, I never thought, since as far as we two love each other, family don't matter. But what I saw in a positive way in our both families is our families were more, I would say to him, if you abuse me or do something bad to me, and then my mom should say, it's your fault. Not like, how did she do that for you, They would say, no, you didn't do that, it's your fault, fix yourself.
But they know very well.
That's what they would say. The same with his family. If he calls to them and LPP disaster, and his father, I'm sure, would say, no, you must have done something wrong, right? So they were very supportive of each other. If I feel bad, I don't call my family, maybe I'll call his family, not my family. So his family is my family, my family is his family. So family really matters, and that there are so many signs that his family dynamics before we moved, my family dynamics before we moved. So that's really important.
So I know the question was what matters most and what matters less.
I
right?
know.
I think we're focusing on the most. So for me, what mattered most, like I said before, was how, the simplicity and how humble she was. And also family, right? It was always, but I want to be with my family, or, even just how she cared for her nieces and nephews, right? That was very important. Right. What matters less for me, I would say, was that outward appearance, right? Where she might want to overdress, but for me, it probably didn't matter, right? So yeah, I would say that's what matters less, the outward appearance, and the inward appearance, what matters most.
I mean, I've already shared some of the things in the past, that's why I didn't want to repeat, but to me, I think throughout all my life, I want to spend the rest of my life with someone who wants to be, or who wants to live with God. The rest of the things, I can manage it. That's my mindset. But if she's not interested to live with God, then however kind, good she is, I think I cannot take that. I may be wrong, but that was my stand, and it mattered most. And so the day she told me that she fasted for Sikh, that's when I said, okay. Everything is included in one package. That's why I always say that.
Yeah, beautiful. I think the common thing here is, among all of what all of you said, is the permanence, something, whatever's permanent is what matters most. And you guys have been in your marriages long enough for you to realize that the things like appearance, fleeting things, go away and are no longer necessary, but things that you can retain, the relationship with God, the inner heart, the inner being is what matters most. Beautiful. So the next question we have is, what conversations do you think are very important to have before even considering marriage? I think you guys have sort of touched about what matters to you, but generally, what do you think is important to just sit down and say, hey, actually, we need to talk about this. What do you think about this? So, what are those things?
Let me say a few things. As I said earlier, of course, we started the official dating in January, I think. But all our time was, I was doing interviews, as I said. Every session, every meeting was not random to me. So in all those discussions, of course she wants to live with God. Well, there are so many sisters who want to live with God. But as long as I started, I saw some potential with her, where does she wants to live, and how rich does she want to be. And what about her commitment for education that she wants to pursue for master's, PhD, anything like that. So all of those things, because I have my own vision for myself, and then those things were, I tried to not interrogate, but but in most of the cases I failed because she says, I don't know this. She doesn't want to give a right answer. But I think what I would say is, what do you want to be? And then what do you want to see from the other person? In me, how rich do you want to be? If she says, I want to be very rich, then that's X out. Because that's not my goal. And definitely we would fight. I want to live a certain life. Of course, I want to manage my life. And I don't want to spend the rest of my life chasing money. Of course, that's good. But if that's the goal, then you should have someone who wants to spend the rest of his life or her life in the same manner. So those are the things I would say, but what about you?
Yeah, I think it's easy to be manipulated if you are sitting, taking the notes and agenda items, what do you want to do after we get married? Because when you are in love with someone, you can always find a way to impress them, to find what they want, to talk what they want to hear, right? That's usually our kids do that. They play us. They tell us what we want to hear, but behind the door they are taking a person. So as far as that trust is built between the two couple, it's okay to sit and talk. But usually, in my opinion, as he said, it's the normal and random talks that makes you see the real identity of the person. They're not thinking to impress you, they're not thinking to tell you what you want to hear. Instead, they're just telling you who they are, who they actually are, what their values are. And you might find some very green flags or very red flags that you won't pursue any further, or a very green light that is whatever things that you can compromise, you should compromise and still move forward, because the very important thing is answered there. Because you never get, none of us are perfect, and we are actually far from perfect. So there are things that you will compromise anyway. So that's very important. If you know what your very important matters, like the deal breakers, there is always room for you to tolerate and compromise.
One question I have in my head is, do you seek salvation? That is a conversation that is very important for a couple to have. Like, do you seek salvation? That's very important to me, I think.
Yeah, I would say, just overall, I said, I was pretty much steadfast in my faith, right? And the conversation that we used to have, it's about how we value God, right? And when I, would have that conversation with her, for her it was more, she would understand about Christ, about our Lord Jesus Christus. However, she wasn't as vast on knowing about her Holy Mother, right? And we know in our faith, we hold our mother really dear to us, right? And when I started telling her and telling her more about, how important is our Holy Virgin Mary to us, to intercede for us all the time, right? And I even introduced it to the Virgin Mary in prayer, right? And when she actually started studying that prayer and she came back to me and said, yeah, I know the prayer now, I realized how important that was as well, right? And overall, that provided a lot of, confidence for me as well, to know that, she's very open and that we can go on this path and this journey together.
So I guess the conversations I think every couple should have is, like we said, how do you grow your faith together? I was baptized in the church a few months before we got married as well. So, he was there to help guide me and teach me along and help me learn and grow spiritually. Another conversation that is important, is, like Tessa said, is what are your financial goals? Do you have similar thought process on how you spend money? Do you, one conversation is, as you're doing the interviews, like I said, because that is what courtship is interviewing your partner, That's part of it. Is this person goal-oriented, or, what is their plan for their life? Do they have a plan? Are they trying to follow and complete a goal, a career path, college, Those are the conversations I would think important.
By the way, even the place matters. In our case, we're lucky. In the sense that, as she said, especially when we do for grad school, we live in the same neighborhood, so we take 2 taxis. Like It takes about around an hour, maybe. So an hour one way, an hour the other way. So every day, 5 days or 4 days, multiply for a month, multiply for 3 years. Plenty of time to extract it. When you meet a person for 30 minutes or an hour once a week, well, make it sweet. Don't interview, that's not the right way.
Thank you.
Benedict was going to say something.
I was gonna say something?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just, I think what you guys are doing, the separate programs, the whole series with cusses, speaking to other couples, I think that in itself is critical before the decision to engage. So all you guys are already kind of having that conversation. We're having a conversation with us. So I think to have the opportunity to speak to your parents if they're married, to speak to your grandparents, and to connect with families and people who you see the example of marriage within your community, to have conversations with them, I think is a critical component.
That led perfectly into my next question, actually, which was going to be how did you all involve family mentors or even spiritual fathers into your decision of deciding who you're going to marry? Thank you for the segue.
Like I said, for me, one of the first things was to, bring it to meet our mother, right? And after that approval, I would talk to my spiritual father as well, right? To ask if this is something that I should be pursuing, right? And also just overall other married couples, right? We have married couples in the church that we'll talk to as well, to give us advice on marriage, right? And, we have this book here, which is a book written by St. John Chrysostom on marriage and family, right? And I recommend for you guys to all get a copy of this.
There's one here too, in the
Right.
bookstore, so.
Yes, which is awesome, right? And I didn't have this book at the time, which would have,
Been very useful.
which has been very useful, right? I would say overall, even our beloved St. Paul speaks a lot on that too, right? So it's important for us to, take those words seriously, right? And really use that as a guide, right? Marriage is not only for men and women, but also it could be the example that Christ showed us, right? Christ in the church, that's a marriage as well, right? So we do have the opportunity to choose if we want to get married to a spouse here physically, or do we want to get married as Christ as our bridegroom, right? So these are the very important things that we, discuss. And that, like I said, I went to my spiritual father to ask if this is something that I should pursue or should, I even look into, focusing on the monastic life.
So, to be honest, I didn't have a lot of, I didn't have any spiritual father to ask or to speak with, because I was just learning about the faith. In ways that my family was involved was how they saw a shift in the things I would do or how I would eat, as he would enlighten me on the faith. On fasting, I would change my diet just to try, just to see. And my family would see those changes and they would joke about it and say, oh, this person is turning you into a Rasta, because they associate eating vegan with being a Rastafarian. So they would joke about that, but they saw the benefit of it, because as I would cook, cleaner or with just plant-based ingredients, they would be introduced to it and they would be like, this is actually pretty good. So they saw that shift and they, looked at it in a positive way, even though they joked about it. So that was kind of like a good input for me, seeing that they, would say, this is a positive shift, So that's a way that they were involved, my family would be involved in the process. Yeah, and when I got introduced to my godmother now, you know, she would enlighten me on a lot of things. And in the time when I didn't have anyone, I had to do a lot of prayer. I had to pray a lot, you know, have conversations with God about the process, you know, use my own discernment as well. So yeah, I had to do a lot of praying and crying to God about the whole process of, you know, going into marriage with Tole.
I grew up in a family who don't talk much, you know, so especially as you know, I'm the second oldest daughter. My mom is very close to my older sister, so they talk a lot, but not me. I'm very close to my immediate older brother, who are just almost a twin with me. So I grew up as a tomboy. So when it comes to women's or girls' issue, I feel like now as a grown up, when I think I had no one to talk to, like comfortably that I'm easily going and talk to. So I'm kind of like person solving my own problems myself. Same way when it comes to this relationship, I didn't tell someone until very close to getting married. Maybe, I don't know, a few months, maybe less than a year. Yeah, but his snake come to our home as a friend because, as I told you, almost all my college UQI friends are boys. So they come, have sleepover. 3 of them will come and sleepover. They are my college friends. So he is like one of my college friends.
But I was not.
You are, but as we are already, even after we are on the next level, nobody noticed. Because he comes, he's as a friend, and he's not the only one who comes. So I was fine. Up until I told my sister, my older sister, and I introduced them. Then she says, you have to bring him and get introduced. And I said, no, not until I'm ready. So she said, I'm gonna call him, he's gonna come. So I told her, him, if you come, that's it, we're done. I'm the only one who let you come, you know, get introduced to the family as my friend, like not like as a friend. So that's, I didn't have someone to talk to expose me, except my older sister. But after we got married, even after they know him, they were so happy, they blessed us, and it meant a lot for me. And they consider me like, she knows what she does, you know, kind of. And so we don't doubt her decisions. So she trusts him, that means he's a good guy. So they didn't doubt him. So he has a nickname in our household. Oh, that my friend who lives nearby. So, oh, is that friend who lives nearby? Because all the other friends are friends, but my friend who lives nearby. We go to a monastery together and say.
Nearby means in a heart.
Yeah, Bamarina, yenya safaruli. Yenya safaruli. So at times we go to a pilgrimage and it's gonna be late. At times that's fine. Yenya safaruli silale. We come together. So he also goes. So we come together. Don't worry. Otherwise, I was so secretive, and in my neighborhood, I was considered as the more successful, very kind of kid. So I don't want to put a wrong impression to the younger girls. So he said, "Listen, when the taxi sent word, when the taxi drops us. So let me walk you down because it's kind of dark." He said, "I don't want to be seen as a guy in this neighborhood." No. So the youngest girls see me. And when we were about to get married, it was about, and I said, let's get married and we can finish our masters after getting married. No, I don't want that image for the younger girls. I want to come out of my house, kind of. So there was a lot of pressure on me, being that the model that younger children see. So I was so protective of myself, so shielding and hiding my relationship until Shimakli Teluko. After Shimakli came in and settled, then I had the freedom to read. But so people have someone to talk to, don't take it for granted. It's not like they have to change your values, but give perspectives to what you think.
You can imagine how much I suffered. That's myself. But I think to me, well, I think I said in one of the sessions, parents should be informed, not informed. That's my way of things. So the first part that I informed her about our relationship with my mother. So I informed her, but this is the person that I love, that I want to live, and she liked her. But I didn't ask for any comments or for any feedbacks. If you leave it open at the first day, that becomes their privilege for the rest of their life. So I just informed it. Didn't any discussion. Well, that myself had some, because my dad wants to, be involved and make decisions, and but I didn't. Regarding spiritual father, I think you took me to a spiritual father.
Yeah, he came to my spiritual
A convert. I was saying, she took me as a convert. But it was helpful. If you want to be with her, then you should be with her in every part of her. So the best person that can coach her directly is her confession father. If anything happens, I can get through him. So it's better for me to be with a confession father. But my confession father now is in heaven. When I was in Bahrain, way before I know her, he already, we could prophesy. Yeah, he told me what kind of person that I will marry. Then you're looking for a puzzle that fits there, and then I think it didn't take me long to figure that out. The rest, I was just investing my time. So she doesn't want me to be seen with her parents, but I went for her.
Just like one of my friends.
It was not. When her grandma passed away, her father's mother. Well, that was my first time going to her parents' house. And that was a moment as well. But they don't know me. Her friends went there, but I should be seen. I have to put my face, yes, I have to leave my footprints. Because that becomes a story. Now we talk about it. Oh, this was a guy that came for that lecture. Yes, it was me. So I was seeing that way. So you have to put positive impression for her parents. Because they will be with you for the rest of your life. And that should be from early stage.
So for me, I had a similar experience as Mulete. I didn't have a spiritual father, but I'm very close with my father. So that was very important for me, is making sure, that he gives the stamp of approval. And then when I went to meet his family, I had to, see, for me, I need to make sure that I can fit in and the personalities match with my in-laws as well. That was a big factor for me.
I'm sure Askana Marin loves you more than you.
Of course.
That's what she said.
Daughter, right?
Yes, Mom.
Thank God for my family. I think they supported us, right? Like, so there's a lot of children in the family. So when I made my decision, there was no argument or investigation, nothing. And I knew, because they trusted me, and I think I still have that level of trust from my parents. I can't speak for my rest of the siblings, but I know. Right? That's not my judgment. I did have somebody say, "Oh, you sure?" To kind of question me, but I was adamant. I was like, "No, this is the person I'm marrying." And the family supported it. Even I always speak about this. Again, I was confident in my judgment. I was in my last semester when I got married. Actually.
Oh, no.
My last semester of my undergrad, I was finishing. I had a few credits to finish, so I got married and then I finished school. And so my family, of course, they supported me, right? I didn't have a job, anything like this. So they were in full support. Her family too. So yeah, you know, that's my story.
Beautiful. I hope everybody's taking notes. It's being spilled here. Okay, so our next question is going to be about communication and conflicts. So it's inevitable. A couple are still two people, one in the Lord, but still different, man and woman. And so conflicts are inevitable. And I think most people, it's something that most people have questions about in terms of like, how do we even navigate disagreements? How do we talk to each other? And so like, how do you navigate moments where you disagree with your partner? And what advice would you have?
I would say it's definitely not easy, right? Like you said, it's inevitable for conflicts to arise, right? And they always say the person who giving, they're actually the winner, right? Which is not easy for you to, you know, just to. She said, accept defeat. You know, like, I wouldn't say it's accepting defeat, right? But it's more.
But we're going to start arguing here.
It's all right. Everything's okay. Yes, but to even set example, right? Because when you have children too around, that's the last thing you want to see, you know, to show. To see mom and dad fighting, right? And he said, the Holy Father said there's no greater connection on earth than a man and wife, right? Or a husband and wife, right? So you can imagine when a husband and wife, there's no greater connection when they are living in harmony. Can you imagine when they're fighting? It's one of the most repulsive things to see, right? And at times, a lot of times, even if the children's around, it's like that's when somebody has to give in, right? To say, you know, we shouldn't be arguing about this, you know, okay, we'll do it this way, right? And just compromise in a lot of instances, right? Really, marriage is about denying oneself, right? So a lot of times you have to give up your own feelings.
Marriage is a spiritual arena. We are going to have disagreements and we're going to have, you know, arguments and different opinions about stuff. But we have to approach it with, you know, understanding, communicating in a loving, soft, in a way, is very important. And then the kids will see you argue or have disagreements, but they also have to see you come together again and apologize. This is how you teach them, you know, how to resolve stuff in the future too. If they never see you argue, then when they get older and they have to have an argument, they will not understand how to approach it. You know, they wouldn't understand that, you know, it's okay because I've seen mommy and daddy argue before and they come back together and they apologize to each other, they love each other again. So it's important for them to see that. So yeah, it's just to approach it in a soft way. And it's not gonna always be soft, sometimes it's hard. But communicate in a soft way and yeah, in a loving way. That's important.
Well, if you had, like us, we have two strong opinionated people. But yeah, to concede, I think, is important, especially as a husband. The great. But yeah, so after you have to realize that it's not about my feelings sometimes. You know, I might feel a certain way, but me especially if I'm in that position of the head of the household, which I believe this is what the role of the husband is, I have to understand, no, it's not worth for me to say, you know, something that's going to upset her. And then you know, say if we do argue and then we just have to not talk for a little bit, right? You have that temptation of not being petty, right? That's my struggle. But then to come back and to communicate and say, okay, yeah, I said that. I probably should have said that, you know. But I don't know why it's so difficult for us to apologize to each other, right? Like to say sorry. I think even in our spiritual life too, right? So our spiritual life has to be important too, right? This is why, you know, a regular life of confession, right? That sorriness that has to also reflect in the marriage too. But yeah, I'm still working on saying sorry more often. You know, even if I was right, I still have to say it. You know?
Yeah.
So.
I guess one thing as for you guys is learning that the first couple of months of marriage is really learning each other once, you know, once the image of that person is gone. You know, because you marry somebody and then that's the first few months is really learning somebody, not just learning, you know, who they project to be. So, you know, that first few months, you know, you will really learn you have to figure out how to communicate effectively with each other. You know, one person might want to, you know, discuss things until we get to a resolve. Another person may need some space and walk away. So you have to learn how you argue, how you articulate your thoughts, how do you communicate, and, you know, part of keeping your marriage together is learning that communication. Yeah, I think that's, you know, and another important point is when you're arguing is not involving everybody. It's keeping your argument between you and your spouse, not your in-laws, not your friends. And especially if you do have somebody for counsel, make sure it's somebody who is married and who has understood what it takes to be married. That's, I think that would be my points on argument and effective communication.
Yeah, I agree with all my sisters say here. It's a work in progress. It's still, yes, it's still. We're learning, getting better. Sometimes laugh at our you know, you can learn to laugh at your disagreements right after the next day. What happened? What it wasn't a big deal. Like, you know, maybe I want to go to this church and you think, no, for these reasons we want to go to. No, okay, you go here and I go, no, we're not gonna go different. So you go. And like, it shouldn't be it. And then maybe complaining, maybe, okay, whatever you say, okay. Then next morning we go somewhere and it's, is it even a big deal? Like, why did we do that? We might laugh at it. But for the youth, what I would say is, in your courtship, in your, you know, prior to marriage, you notice something and then you wanting most people to make a mistake is, it's okay, he will change. He promised he will change when we get married. No. So, take that as, okay, this is my thing, and I live with it. If it changes, perfect. If it doesn't, I knew it. I already knew, you know, how to live with this. So we love with Alvaro, like, okay, he said he's struggling, he's working on himself, and then he's gonna be better by the time we get married. If that's the case, that's right, and to us, that's very great, but maybe not. So, you're marrying a person who has that personality, those characters, for 25 years, let's say. And it's very hard to change him. So if it's a thing that a deal breaker for you, so break it there. But once you are in, you're in. So live with it. When it comes to communication, I think Lily also wanted to say it. Finding the time to communicate makes it easier. You can tell, I am like very highly opinionated, and I grew up as like, oh, she knows everything, she has the best decision, like, everybody trusts my judgment and stuff. So when I get married, they say, I said this, you do it. We tried it somehow, but it didn't work. Because it doesn't work that way, right? because we are two people living in the same, under the same roof. So my type of personality is, okay, you don't like this, so let's sit and talk now, like with this tone. So why and how, right? But you say, let's sleep on it. I don't want to talk about it now. We talk about it later. Me chasing him behind. Why do you mean? Why? Let's talk about it. Like, tell me, what? You left me one time? Let's solve it here, right? It's not gonna work. So, choosing the right time because we want to solve it, right? And it's not the way to solve it. So give it time, sleep on it, pray on it, and then he has in Amarinya, he said, when you say like, it's a big hard where coming from. That is, by the way, what did you mean to say earlier? If I say, he said, okay, good night, we talk about it tomorrow. So, finding the right moment and finding our intention is not to fight. Our intention is to find a solution to solve it. So, the tone matters, right? Our tonation, like if I'm angry and being harsh, it's not gonna get us where we want to go. Yes, and there's a saying, are you patient? And somebody says, yes. Are you married? No. Do you have children? No. Then you don't know if you are patient. You'll know when you are actually in the place where patience is really important. So I think that's what I say.
Good. There are three key things. When he was mentioning about St. John Chrysostom's book, I was reading something else at that time. The book about men from Mars, women from Venus. I used to read that, and it helped a lot. Arguments should be wise, because if I give answer, a single sentence, that's going to be a paragraph. Response. So whenever they want you to argue, you should quiet. That's the only way you can overcome. Why? Because what you said I cannot forget what you said. Never. And that will always be in your heart. That's very hard. So that's what most men or husbands, I think, forget. They try to justify. And in the meantime, the arguments get heated. Then they say some words, and she can never forget. You can say sorry, but she cannot forget. By the way, you said this to me. It will always be referred. And if you're quiet, you're safe. There's nothing. Yeah. And my dad was very quiet. My parents argued. Anytime there's an argument, you go back and sleep. That was a good lesson. So, it was helpful. But what I would say now is it is only the Holy Spirit that makes you united, or that helps you to overcome that argument. It's not any other means. Because arguments always, you hurt each other in the business, and you cannot forget that. But it is the Holy Spirit that helps you to overcome that and go through that. So, because at any moment you think, this was wrong. This was the wrong person. I wasn't supposed to marry. By the way, the personality that she described is the exact personality that I was looking to be married. For your surprise, that bold personality, strong person, opinionated, I don't know why. From early childhood, there was a drama, like Erido drama. Erido, yes. What do you call it in English?
Cartoon?
No.
Drama series.
It's a series, but it's in radio. But it's in radio. Yeah. There was a character, two characters, two sisters. I told her. One was very kind,
Loved.
Yeah, very, very soft. Her sister, my God.
She fight for her sister.
Yeah, that's when I was in high school. And I loved that character than this one. If you ask everyone, Everyone loves, like, her character was Isum, right? Maywarshat, yeah. I love the character of Imarshat than Isum. And when I met my confession father, well before I met her, it's in a random discussion, out of the blue. Sahara Gabriel, you know, these kind of women are very good for marriage, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not the discussion. The discussion was not about marriage. Just in the middle of the discussion, he just put that and then go to different. That was saved here, like, it just matches. When I see her, oh, she is that. So that personality was not a problem for me, that's what I want to say. For some people, they would say that she's bossy. I enjoy it. I like it. I like that personality. So if there is something that you enjoy it, even if the other person is not happy about it, that would be a blessing for you.
Thank you. Is this working? Okay. Thank you. So our next, now we're gonna go on to practical married life. This sort of did, you know, conflict and communication is also an aspect, obviously, of your daily practical life. But you know, a lot of, as you grow, you have families, you have kids. There's a lot more responsibilities. There's, you know, you have less free time to just devote to the person that you're with. So, how have you learned to handle, you know, the added responsibilities of maybe ministry or your children, other family work obligations? How do you still find time for your person, and how do you get time for them?
Let's start.
Yep.
Okay. So we just figured this out like 2 years ago. Yeah, for us.
I'll leave
So
this
we
question
have-
for her.
We have
I'll be back.
we have we try to do date night at least twice a month. Thank God, in our living condition, we're in like a 3-family house, so my parents live with us, my Alex, so we have people to watch the children. That's a blessing, because if you don't have that, it's kind of almost impossible. We don't want strangers watching children. So for us, we prioritize that we have to have date night, and we aim for twice a month. If we have more, we have more. So that was very, very critical for us, and that's what we focus on. But also, we have, you know, conversations on ourselves. Even how our we have like a 1-bedroom apartment kind of thing for me and my family, and so even at first, the way the configuration was, it was hard for us to have a conversation in a long time, right? Then we figured out something. I said, why don't we move to this room, and then the children have their own space over here, and that changed things too. Us, but yeah, we have a friendship as well, right? We talk, so we speak every day. She calls me after she leaves work. We don't call as much, but she calls me all the time. We speak regularly. But date night, I think, is a critical component in married life.
And another thing is we try to start our day with prayer, and then we spoke at the last meeting. We have a marriage prayer from the Orthodox prayer book. We see that every day. We hold hands as we say that, and we say that we make prayer part of our day, our daily practices. It's time to pray together.
So for us, I would say we're still working on that, right? We have yet to really navigate time where we can really have some alone time, which you know is very, very important in a marriage, right? So at this point, we still have where we'll allow the kids to go to sleep, which sometimes can be even very late, right? And then that's when we have our time, right? It's always after the kids go to bed, then we'll step. So at times, even if the kids go to bed as late as 10 or 11, then we're spending time, you know, 11 to 1 a.m., right? And that's that's a sacrifice that we decided that works for us, right? And, you know, with everyone, you have to navigate what works for them based on time, right? And even we try to, as far as, like, you know, like our sister Jennifer said, the marriage, there's a marriage prayer in the Orthodox prayer book that we try to say every night. If we're unable to say it standing, we'll say just in the bed, laying down, right? Just to make sure, you know, we constantly say that prayer. And, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the prayer, but it's, you know, it's, and I wouldn't mind saying it right now. And I'll try to, sometimes, you know, when you're in a situation like this, sometimes the memory just, but it says, Lord, this is just as, you know, by your presence, you bless the way and Canaan, show us that you're the true fruits of mystical and pure marriage. We thank you for the day in which by your heavenly blessing you join us in the sacrament of marriage. Lord, continue to bless and enrich our marriage with love, companionship, mutual support, oneness of heart, and progress in faith and life. Protect our holy wedlock from evil, sin, and danger. Nurture between us the spirit of understanding, the spirit of forgiveness, and the spirit of peace, that no resentment, quarrel, or other problem may cause us to stumble and fall. Grant us to see our own faults and not to judge each other. Keep our bond of love always new and guide our lives with the joys of marriage, that with one heart we may praise and glorify you forever and ever. Amen. So even that marriage, if you just say it out by words, like you see how deep it is, right? Grant us to see our own faults and not to judge each other, right? So that prayer for us, it's like a foundation in our marriage, which we, even if we don't get to say our regular daily prayer, you know, like the Vanessa Maria and, you know, the covenant prayer, at night, it's like very important for us to say this prayer, right? It's something that really keeps us together.
So I would say that vigil is something that we use as time to spend together. Yeah, we do really stay up late just to get time. So it's really, you know, figuring out what works for you. Throughout the day, we have conversations with each other, and that's like a good thing that helps us to like stay connected. Just simple conversations. You know, how was your day? Like really trying to seek, you know, and find interest in how the day went for them. You know, yeah, we're still trying to figure it out. You know, we still have very young children, so it's still a process for us. So over time, you grow, and you know, eventually the kids will get older, and we will have more time together. So we keep that in the back of our minds, like, you know, there's gonna be time for us, you know, but the years that the children are young is so short. They grow up so fast. So we cherish those, you know, moments, and we cherish that moment now. And, you know, knowing by God's will, you know by His grace and mercy that He will spare us and give us time eventually to spend together.
I'm glad to discuss it. He was not here when Jenny and Jennifer and Benedict said they have a bi-weekly date night.
Long overdue.
So, you know, as Ethiopian, grew up in Ethiopia, it's not a thing, right? Our parents don't do that much. They go look so let's or whatever, but they don't go out, okay, I'm gonna take your mom to for dinner, right? There's nothing. So I think that's how we're living. We never had an actual like real date night, especially after the kids were born, just he and I. Mainly because of he offers, but I feel like, oh, I feel guilty leaving my children and then eating good food out. I wouldn't do that. Even people offered, for the most part, we never had like people to take care of them when we are out. Right? We live in places where there are no Habesha family. And then one family, even in our anniversary, offered us, don't worry, leave them with us and you go out. And I said, no. Like, we go out with them. not without them. So
So they
we
replace
go
you.
out. Yeah, we go out on our anniversaries, birthdays, but we never had just he and I go out. It's because of me. I feel I have like guilt or shame, like I'm selfish, leaving the kids behind and taking out. But it's very important. In theory, I believe it is very important. But other than that, he is, I don't know if it's not a secret. I think most people would learn from it. He's very romantic. Like he can romanticize very little things. Go out to Wegmans to grab milk. We will come with a card or a flower. And I said, what? Oh, it's Monday. Like my he expresses love, appreciation for the big and little. You know, just like for anything that seems nothing, he would appreciate that. He's very expressive of what he feels about me, about our relationship. I'm the opposite side. I don't say it much.
Which I like.
Which is fine.
Which I like.
It's fine. As I told you, it's my upbringing. I think I should work on it. But it's my upbringing. I'm like, you know, I like borrowing Michelle Obama's word. I'm the checklist person. Like, I make sure like things that I listed are done. Check, 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 check. That's it. Look, we are fed. Kids are bad. We ate. We did this. Kids go to school. He did that. And then I'm fine. So the day is good for me. It's complete. But it takes more than that. I'm not in trouble because he's not the kind of person demanding or matching his love and appreciation. But if you know your partner does not, is wants something like that, we have to do that. It's not like, oh, I can't change, it's how I grow up. No, it doesn't work. You have to go extra mile to fulfill the needs of your spouse, to make sure your marriage runs, smoothly and godly. In terms of prayer, as Kanwarim showed me that prayer, and she even said it to me. We're not that very big examples in prayer, but the good thing, God never left us is whenever I am tired, He's stronger. Whenever I'm like losing that courage to wake up early, do all my prayers, He does that. Or sometimes He's tired, but I eventually find myself better in doing that. So we feel each other. And with the kids, we try to set up, the problem with most families, even in our upbringing, is families want holy kids, but they're not living a holy life. So we want to exemplify as much as we can and set rules, practice prayer together as families. Do not expect them something that we don't do ourselves. They're getting older now, being independent in their prayer, leading their own prayers whenever we're not. One other layer in our marriage was, again, with the grace of God, it didn't put us in a bad situation. We are so much immersed into service. I don't know the balance. It's good to serve, right? But sometimes we kind of like forget each other. Like he comes home, I'm in a meeting, he doesn't talk to me. So he takes care of the kids, I'm again in the meeting until 11. Then everybody goes to bed without even giving them a hug or praying with them, right? So finding the balance, again, I'm not in a bad situation because he's an understanding husband. We're in the same boat. He also serves, I also serve. But always, checking and balancing. Is he liking it? Is it too much? Is it putting our relationship in danger, our marriage, our children, right? Always is fine. It's very important to find the balance, keep an eye and watch where we are, gauging our relationship, our marriage.
Well, I think I agree, but I think this is the time I have to say something. In terms of finding these things, time, commitment, she is beyond my expectation in reality. A very strong person who is able to manage multiple things without missing a deadline. And I can only do one. And when I finish that, I can go to the next one. Like let's say tomorrow is birthday of one child who's living maybe in Boston or somewhere else. Well, I make sure that I remember the birthday of my children, and of course my wife.
Not maybe your friends' children.
Oh my God! Like today's someone's birthday. Oh, happy birthday! Today's. Oh my, how do you do it? I don't have enough storage for such things. It's already full. So if you put her in any task, she will do it diligently, even without marriage. And, well, I had a good understanding for her, but I was amazed. I'm amazed with that things that she has, really, honestly. And her personality helped, I think, us to go that way in terms of prayers and going to church. She's by far stronger than I am. You know the cool person that she mentioned earlier? That thing is still there, see. Let me sleep longer. She's the one who wakes up 4:30 a.m. Again, I'm the priest. I have to be the one to wake up early. Like, let's sleep until 4:45. Like, she has that thing, which is good for me. I enjoy it. If I was with the other kind who is also, right? that character, you'll find me in a different position, I think. So, yes, she managed that. She managed several things. And because she does, I think by default, I let many things for her to handle it as well. I noticed that. It's not because I don't want to do it, because I feel like she can do it. But then it becomes too burdened. Like you're not being part of it. I sense that. So I start to engage in some of the things related to the children, like going to their parent-teacher conference and things. The package is very big, by the way. We're not very informed about this. This is only marriage, but it's a very broad, different chapters. But if you have someone who is not that much in need of what others do, I think your marriage is fine. But you cannot get two things. Go out, enjoy, relax, and raise kids. It doesn't go hand in hand. So, but in that regard, we're lucky. I'm lucky to have you. It was a good commitment. I just want to add that. Thank you. They say.
Oh, you did.
Me first.
Those are beautiful testimonies. Now we're sort of nearing the end of the panel, but there's one last question that I want to ask before we open it up for the rest of the group. So I'll change up the question a little bit and ask, the question is like, how has God, like, how's your marriage allowed to grow your relationship with God? But I think you guys have sort of touched on that a little bit, but sort of all of you have kind of hinted on this idea of like keeping God at the center and looking up to God and praying to God. But I just want to ask, like, what does it mean to you to keep Christ at the center of your marriage, to always look to God? So how do you see that? What does it mean in that? It can be in any sense. Earlier, what it was saying, marriage is a spiritual arena, right? And so what exactly does it mean to you to keep Christ at the center? Let's just define it. I think we use it all the time, but we don't define it. So I just want to discuss that.
Put some more money back. I'm going to share something that happened to me a few years ago. So I was in a position where my wife had to go travel and to pick up my grandmother. My grandmother's elderly, and she was staying with my sister in Texas. Texas at the time? Texas, yeah. And so she had to leave, and I was stuck with the children. It's probably the first time where it was me and the children. And so I said, yeah, I could do it, right? In my mind, that's what I thought. And so day one comes, and just me and the children, I have to get ready for school. Oh, yeah, all those things that mommy usually does. And at the end of the day, I was so drained. And I had to do some deep reflection. So motherhood is great. Like, God designed motherhood I had this different appreciation, connecting with God and then understanding what motherhood was about. And I just had a deep appreciation for motherhood, for my mother, for all the mothers, anybody who was a mother. And I was like, second to God, motherhood is greatest. Like, there's second to God, motherhood is greatest, you know? And But of course, in that reflection, I was able to ask God for help to help deal with the children for the rest of the day, and I did. I would say by the power of the Holy Spirit, I was able. Right, to fill that gap. I wasn't exhausted for the next 3 or 4 days that she was gone, but that realization about how motherhood is great, and we all are products of motherhood, And I said, man, there's nothing great, So it was just a deepening understanding of God's creation, how He designed family, how He designed the dynamics, and that just having a strong appreciation for motherhood. So Mother's Day is where I'm always every day, right? So that's what I have to share. Unless you want to wait till somebody else. Yeah.
I guess for me, since I grew up in a different faith. So in college, I started to develop my relationship with God in college. So as we got married and do the trials and tribulations that just helped grow me more spiritually. As we were talking about the prayer, and as Tuwole mentioned it reminded me how much, even when we're in our arguments, to remember the prayer, all the different important points in the prayer, and then it helped me grow our relationship and grow my relationship with God too, and grow together as two became one. Yeah, that's where. You want to go to the
Please.
So, what I'll say is, he said, how does marriage kind of bring us closer or help us in our life with, bringing Christ at the center? So marriage, there's 3 things in marriage, right? Love, pain, and a journey to heaven, right? You have some Holy Father said when you're single, you have maybe 1,000 demons, attacking you. When you're married, it's 10,000, right? Because you're on this path to heaven, right? When you join in
Is that because of her or
you're on this path to the journey of Him, and you're going to be fighting. Temptation is going to come, right? As what I said, the spiritual arena, right? Battling to find salvation, and temptation is going to come in all forms, right? They said those who are married, the devil come and tell them, why do you want this burden? You could have lived a peaceful single life, without the pains of having someone else. You have to go by, what they want, right? Whereas for those who are single or married, why don't you get married, where you could have a family church at home and live the joy with family? So no matter what, right, the battle is there. And overall, because of that, right, it allows you to reach out to God more, right? It allows you to pray more earnestly, right? To, ask God to help you. And then now it's not only you, because you care for you and you love your wife so dearly, right? You want them to be happy, right? You want to grow the kids to the best of your ability, and you can't do it by yourself, right? So because of that, it's going to allow you to, really pour out your heart to God and ask for His help, right? A lot of times, it's when we're in our, lowest moment, that's when we really pray to God, right? And in marriage, a lot of times that, like I said, just to keep the family together, you reach out for that hope, to Christ, to the Holy Virgin Mary. I don't know what I'll do without her, right? At all times, it's, our Lord Jesus Christus and the Virgin Mary constantly. And I think with marriage, that definitely brought me closer and gave me that more zeal and discernment to continue to reach out for her.
Okay. Madam, she has a live interview from our son from El Salvador. So she said for about 15 minutes, so she has to go there. But she's the chairwoman of campus ministry in the US. I can't do it, she's able to manage most of it. I just want to add that. When it comes to, I think marriage will help you to seek God, or vice versa, or God will help you to stay grounded in your marriage commitment. Without God, I think it's hard. I mean, every argument can lead to something. We have different opinions, different personalities, with different values. Even by the way, our majors, the things that we studied in college, affects our personality. Like I'm an engineering person, so I'm fine with 1 + 1 is 2. With those kinds of facts, I can accept it. When it is opinion, like, well, I want to take this from here. Oh, you can, but I want it here. But I want it here, but I want it here too. So it's opinion based. So I feel like even the things that we learn in this world, may one way or the other affect us, our personality or our attitude. But I think when we pray, when we say our confession fathers, the Holy Spirit resides in that house, and it is the Holy Spirit that unites the soul, so that refreshes the love on a daily basis. So the benefit is not eternal. Yes, of course, you will inherit eternal kingdom, but the benefit is here on earth as well. Without that, we've seen several marriages that we never thought they will end up with what they have right now, but I think the temptation is so big. And it's only mentioned that the demons will be 10 times, but I feel like it's basically not mainly because you are married, mainly because of my personal attitude. It was not tasted. I was alone, I could do whatever I want. But tomorrow is Sunday, then I want to eat, let's say, the broccoli, okay, I can do it. In the afternoon, I want to go to Central Park, I can do it. So my freedom was not tasted. So when you get married, well, she had a different opinion. Well, in the afternoon, we have to visit this birthday. Well, that was not in my calendar, but it is in her calendar. So you start to compromise. So the difference most of the time gets multiplied because now your freedom is being tested. So unless you ask the Lord to help you to let things go, marriage is hard. It's very hard. So most of the time, main problem is ours. So I don't want to let things go. Or maybe I want to please my parents than my wife. There are silly things that say, oh, as my sister said, as my brother said, or then you are ruining your marriage. So those things are the things that affect. But I think if we pray, if we see our confession Father more often, I think our problem can be solved. So yes, so being with Christ by itself can help us, if that makes sense.